Okay, folks. So, the phrase threat to democracy, that's a phrase Pelosi uses, Chuck Schumer uses, Nadler, Biden. They all use this phrase. What it really means, it's a euphemism for a threat to our power. They don't care about true democracy. They don't care about your freedom. They would rather see you in a pod eating crickets. But this is funny because I think by now everybody knows this, but they did a poll on MSNBC. And it's funny because MSNBC would, of course, be the only one shocked by this. They asked independents. They did a survey of independents and said, well, who do you think is more of a threat to democracy? And the results shocked them. They were like, what? No, that can't possibly be. And I'm like, you really are the most sheltered people. And you've done it to yourselves. Because if there's anybody who suffers from confirmation bias more than anybody else, it's MSDNC, owned by Bill Gates, right? Because the MS stands for Microsoft. So anyway, in the last few years, the warnings about who's a threat to democracy have ramped up, even though that's not really a thing because the US is a republic, which is true. It makes more sense when you realize that the left and the media's definition of threat to democracy translates to a threat to Democrat power. Threat to democracy, this phrase going around, has even become its own polling category, especially since the Democrats' new favorite national holiday, J6. But maybe that will eventually stop receiving so much focus if it backfires on the lib media enough. A recent poll of independent voters in the threat to democracy category was discussed on MSNBC, and they were beside themselves with shock and dismay. Watch this.
Interesting in this polling was more independents said that they worry about President Biden weakening democracy than Trump, 53% to 42%. What do you make of this?
I find it shocking, honestly. I can't, make sense of that number. I wish I could. I wish I had some really great insight to it, but I don't know if it's an outlier or not because the other numbers with independents and Biden are going in the right direction. So that may be it. But also, just one thing I wanted to add on to what Basil said. This trial's not on TV. You guys do a great job reporting what's happening. But if there aren't those images coming out of the courthouse, people feel like they know this story. We've heard about it for a long time. So it doesn't surprise me that they're not interested.
Well, thank you both so much for being.
Yep, so there they are, utterly shocked. Other numbers with independents and Biden are going in the right direction. That's a kind of totally objective take that you can expect from MSNBC political analysts, right? Truth be told, but here's the thing. I look at it and go, but is this shocking? This is shocking to you? Like, Biden has the worst marketing. There is almost an anti-marketing campaign that his Biden regime puts out. The optics, just the basic optics of Biden's campaign are terrible. In addition to his terrible record so far, I mean, inflation is high. I think the pullout from Afghanistan was one of the biggest gaffes. That was one of the first big signs that it was like for lefties to go, wait a second, this guy kind of sucks. And so, yeah, it's kind of true. Look at his actions. That's not hard to derive from that. And the fact that this same Biden regime, Democrats, these people, they're putting a budget forward now to do a 44.6% tax on capital gains. And they're trying to get rid of your savings. This is the whole goal. Get rid of people's savings, wipe them out. That means if you retire, if they pass that bill, if you retire and you have your 401k, instead of paying 15% that you would every time you dipped into that, you're going to be paying nearly half of that to the government. So Nilsa Alvarez said it's not rocket science, but it is for MSDNC. Yeah, that's pretty much who they are. Call us crazy, but maybe Biden's obvious determination to drive the U.S. completely off a cliff is considered by many to be a threat to democracy. This always gets me. I'm like, the obvious plan, not incompetence, the actual plan to collapse the United States economy and usher in something horrid in its place, really horrid in its place, just doesn't seem to get these guys. But remember, they only hang around with each other. And within this, the beltway of DC and the swamp, they really do live in a very sheltered world. They have a perspective on the world. They see the world through a lens that is, I would say, quite a bit of delusion, because they have no idea. And I'm always shocked. I think, well, these people are smarter than that. They're not. Like they're always shocked. They're like, wait, regular Americans can't afford to do this? What? So Free Speech USA says she's super pissed. The salacious, sleazy details that have nothing to do with the actual case are not on TV. I know, I noticed that too, that the details of the court case are not on TV, so that they're like afraid. They're like, well, if Americans could see that, if we could give them that, then they would definitely change their mind. But since they can't see what's going on in court, they're just thinking, they're thinking against the narrative. So it says here, just wait to see the MSNBC meltdown when the whole case gets overturned on appeal. Oh, I know, it's going to be bad when that gets overturned, or things will get delayed, which they already have in these court cases. Every court case against Trump. I mean, there's an infinite delay with the one with Eileen Cannon. The Stormy Daniels thing is not going well. She had a terrible testimony yesterday. And the Fani Willis thing, we don't even know what's going on with that, because Fani Willis herself is being investigated. So here's some other comments. There's something in the air in the Isela corridor. Biden definitely is. She's super pissed. Yeah, Republicans stealing their line because liberals cannot look at anything with an unbiased lens. Their hatred for Trump blinds them from facts. And I kind of go along with this too. Somebody said Republicans stealing their line, and I'm like, well, possibly too, because at this point I don't have much belief in most of the Republican Party either. Even though I definitely am conservative, I definitely don't believe they have our interests at heart at all. And Donald Trump to me doesn't come off as a guy he just chose Republican, but he's not Democrat, but he's definitely not as hardline as some Republicans are, and the neocon Republicans hate him. They hate his guts. So I'm like, well, he must be doing something right. So because let's see, numbers are going in the right direction. Great objective analysis there, the right direction. They must live in la la land. That would be difficult for them to realize, and that's essentially the metaphor for their collapsing ideas. So anyway, after all the propaganda we have pumped out, I can't believe this. That's because they live in a liberal bubble. Yeah, that liberal bubble is that kind of back east corridor from like New York to DC, and I believe it still exists. That it's a kind of a laundry machine of journalists, anchors, and politicians and bankers, and they all go through this system back east that's like New York, Boston, and DC. And that's the bubble they live in. And yes, that's more of like a geography thing, but I think it still exists like it did in the old days. These people have always controlled most of the country and California, okay? They have that kind of a bubble themselves too, this elitist bubble. And I'm like, do you ever go and interview regular Americans? Like, do you ever go anywhere else? Do you ever go to Idaho? Do you ever go to Montana? Do you ever go, as opposed to going there on vacation, do you ever just go to a working class place and ask people their opinions? I don't see very much of that, though, nowadays, except with independent reporters. The real shock to them is their inability to move the needle the way that they want. I love the chick turning to the camera and smiling at the end. Look, Mon, I'm on TV. Yeah, she had a big smile on her face saying that. She's like, I just can't believe they won't show this trial on TV. Not shocking, honestly. The numbers should be higher. I actually believe this poll is probably skewed because I'm like, I don't know, if you're a regular person on the ground, I would assume the numbers would be higher too. Another gaslighting job from MSM. No one likes it. And the problem with their gaslighting is it's not good anymore. Like everybody sees through it. They're not even good at it. So they need to get their heads out of their bubble and actually do their job and find out why. Real journalists would investigate, but I think we know they aren't real. Yeah. Yeah. When you become a propagandist, a marketer and a propagandist, you're not, these aren't journalists. These are propagandists. That's their job. So, Goering, Hitler's assistant, he would praise these people. He would be clapping all around, for all their propagandizing. Maybe try to stop your opponent using the court systems is the biggest threat. I don't understand why these rubes would think the weaponization of the DOJ would hurt democracy. The fighter of democracy that has political opponents facing criminal charges blames Trump for Roe versus Wade when it was SCOTUS' decision during his term, pays off student debt, has enforced vaccine mandates, is going to increase taxes by letting Trump's tax cut expire. Yeah, these are not people fighting for the common man, no, at all. How are they shocked? The Biden administration has weaponized the judicial system to try and eliminate the leader of the opposition. Trump, no wars, low inflation, secure borders. Biden, 2 wars, high inflation, open borders. Americans cannot afford another 4 years of the last 4 years, financially, physically, freedom-wise, or securely. Yeah. They always have the most clueless guests on MSNBC for one reason, propaganda. The MSNBC's panel's shock at independents thinking Biden threatens democracy more reflects their ideological bubble. Affecting their job, they're paid for insight. If MSNBC had Republican voices, they'd hear the other views. We'll see this again in November if Trump wins. Yeah. So anyway, you see what I'm getting at here, and it's a weird take. It's a very cognitively dissonant take for sure. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks, and I will talk to you later. Bye.